Hey guys, Miss Toy 734. I just made a video about finances and budgeting and tracking expenses. Um, and that video, I think it was like, I don't know, 15 minutes or 16 minutes or something. So I didn't want to get into this in that video because it would have been too long. But, um, and also, to be honest, I wasn't sure if I wanted to divulge. This much information, but I feel that this can be a testimony for someone else. So I am going to share it. And it's not anything that I'm ashamed of or anything. It's just something personal that I experienced. So I talked about in the other video how I took out quite a bit of student loans um, while I was in my PhD program. And unfortunately, I do not have my PhD. I am a couple of chapters into my dissertation, but I have not looked at it in about 5 years. So that just tells you where I am. So I don't know that it's something that will get completed. I don't know. At this point, I'm unsure of it, and I'm still praying and seeking God's guidance in regards to that. But what I did want to share was that when I went to graduate school in Michigan, and I currently live in Virginia, I had a lot of personal things, dealing with depression, some family things that were kind of like financial stressors for me. And I decided once I moved back to Virginia that I would file bankruptcy. And at the time, I knew someone else who had filed bankruptcy and stated that they had private student loans like myself. And they stated that because of the student loans, that they were able to discharge them via bankruptcy. So because they were not federal loans, and they also said because the loans did not go through the school but came directly to me, that I would be able to file bankruptcy on them. And at the time I was in my early 20s, maybe 25, or I guess that's mid 20s. But the $800 payment a month is a monster. Okay, that's a beast. I'm not gonna lie. If you have any kind of life outside of your student loans, it's just a challenge to pay. And it was something that I was interested in looking into. And the person that shared this information with me, I think they were just uneducated about the process and what actually happened in their bankruptcy proceedings, because their loans actually were not cleared. So, in speaking with a lawyer, when I was considering bankruptcy, I had some other things that I decided to clear in the bankruptcy, since I was going to file it in an attempt to clear my private student loans. I had recently purchased a car with a $400 car note, and I had maybe $7,000 or $8,000 in credit card debt. Okay. Now, if your situation is similar to what I just described, I would not necessarily recommend that you file bankruptcy. Okay. And the reason why is it's not that much money. For me, getting rid of the car was more of the selling point for me, because even if I could not clear the student loans, I felt like getting rid of the car would help me just financially at the time. So what I did when I was going through this process, I had a little bit of savings, not a lot. I had maybe 2,500, 3,000 at the most. So what I did was I found a car on the side of the street. I looked for quite a while, and I found a Camry, a 1999 Camry, an older Camry that had a lot of mileage. And I bought the car for $2,000. So I kind of set myself up so that I would be able to have less bills after coming out of this bankruptcy. And the way the bankruptcy works is that once you have initiated the process and it has been filed, um, and it may depend, but I was advised to not continue to pay the bills that I was requesting to be cleared. So I did not pay the car note on the car because that was something I was requesting to be cleared. I did not pay the credit card monthly bill at that time because I was requesting that be cleared. And your student loans stop during that time. Okay. So at this time, I was, living on my own and everything. So I had a significant amount of bills. And what I was doing was saving that money. So the money that I went for the car note, I was saving that every month to just kind of try to dig myself out of the hole. The bankruptcy, it costs about, I think, 1,300, maybe 1,400, somewhere around there, to file it with the lawyer that I used. It was a scary experience. I'm not gonna lie and say it wasn't scary. It was very scary. And I will research something to death. I'm a researcher. My PhD was in psychology, so I know how to research psychology and education. So that's what my degrees were in. So I know how to research, and I researched the best out of it. And at the time, it was a good option for me. Okay. And a lot of people, I didn't share with a lot of people what I was experiencing or going through. But those who did know were kind of shocked because they've always known me as being the good person with money. And while I was good with money, I made several very poor choices. I noted in the other video that I have a little over $100,000 in student loan debt, which is a substantial payment each month. It's about a little over $800 a month. And that is a financial hardship, guys. And the reason that I decided to make this video is because there may be young people out there who are pursuing college. I'm the first in my family to go to college and undergrad. Thank God I came out with only 20,000. But I was a really good student. I had a really good scholarship package. And that kind of thing. So I was able to really just pay for my first year and not pay for anything thereafter. And I don't want to deter anybody from going to school or taking out student loans, but I just want to encourage people to really consider taking out loans, because I didn't do anything excessive with my student loans. I'm not going to reiterate the whole story. You can look at the other video that I'll link to this one. But my father passed away while I was in college. My youngest sister was 11, and my mother had not worked since she was pregnant with my youngest sister for over 12 years. Or over 11 years. So at the time, and my mother's older as well. So it was kind of a challenge where she could not find employment. Because she didn't have a skill set as we were kind of moving into this new computer technology kind of situation, and she did not have the experience, and being out of the workforce for 12 years can be, it can limit your options if you do decide to go back, and it can cause anxiety when you haven't worked in that long. So I had a lot of just personal pressure that I put on myself to help my family. And other first generation students or other people who, have been the quote unquote responsible one in their family may understand this. And you may not. And, some people may think that this is completely foolish and completely silly, but a lot of times we help family, even when we're not able to even help ourselves. So that's why I decided to make this video. And it's getting way longer than I intended. So all of this to say that I did file bankruptcy. It ended up being a good decision for me. I paid about $1,400 for it, the actual proceedings and everything. None of my loans were discharged. Okay? None of them. Not one. Even though they did not go through the school, even though they came directly to me, they were considered student loans and they were not discharged. So the bit of information that I received was not accurate. And it could be that they changed the law in like 2005 or somewhere around there, I think. And so maybe that was the miscommunication. But none of my student loans were discharged. So I'm still paying a little over $800 a month in student loans, which is fine. You know, I've gotten over being bitter. I've prayed about it. These were decisions that I made, and I feel like God has me in this place for a reason. So no longer am I upset that I'm paying these bills that I made, right? Yeah. We're funny. People are funny. Myself included, because we get mad at other people for things that we do to ourselves. So anyway, the car and everything else did get cleared up, so it was really kind of a blank slate. And I had very good credit at the time. My credit was over 800. Yeah, you heard me correctly. It was over 800, and I still filed bankruptcy. So it did knock my credit score down significantly. I think it knocked it down to maybe a 640 or 650, which kind of devastated me because I'm so used to my credit being so high. But I've since recovered. It's been maybe 4 to 5 years since I filed the bankruptcy. I've been able to get a car loan. My interest rate is 2.9%. I have two large credit cards. I can get store credit cards, cell phones, anything. I've been approved to get a mortgage. So there is life after it, and you just have to be diligent with what you do. Because I was diligent before, it made it very easy for me to remain diligent. I just did not make those huge mistakes like taking out loans to help family or whatever the case may be. So I was always diligent, but in my mind, I was like, oh, well, I'm going to be a doctor and I'm going to be making this great grand lump sum of money every year. But in reality, that didn't happen. And so that's why I'm making this video, just to kind of encourage people to not defer your dreams, but just really plan and think about what it is that you may be making, what real life expenses cost. Because if I did not live in Virginia right now, well, I would probably be making more money if I lived elsewhere, but it would be very difficult to live in a place that had a higher cost of living, paying $800 a month in student loans. At this point, I cannot defer my loans. I was able to defer them for 8 months. But with the provider that I have, you can only defer for up to 1 year. And after that 1 year, there has to be spacing in between it where you can not defer it anymore. So at this point, I'm not trying to defer my loans because I want the balances to come down. Are they coming down right now? No. I'm paying them every month, but it's such a large lump sum that I'm paying much more interest than I am principal. But, I am trusting that, if I continue to walk in the path that God has for me, He will put me in a position where I will be able to pay down the student loans, and that will free up some other money. And at this point, I'm not stressing about it. I still pay my tithes. I, pay my student loans. I pay all my bills on time every month. Guys, that is so important. Please check out the other video if you haven't checked it out already. It's just so important. And now my credit score is over 700. I'm trying to get it back to 800, and I'm working on it. I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. And I'll get there. I'll get there because I see the movement and I'm almost there. So I'll get there. But, I'm really just rebuilding. So I just wanted to put this out there to encourage people to really think about it, and see what the benefits as well as the cons, the pros and the cons of potentially filing bankruptcy and of taking out student loans. Because sometimes, and even just helping family, sometimes we're helping people and we can't help them because you don't want to help someone to the point where you have set yourself back significantly. And I've helped people who were family, not family, friends, people who I've dated. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. A lot of us have done that, especially if you have a giving spirit about you. And, God really just had to teach me that, because I thought that being a Christian meant you gave everything away. When people ask you for things, you just gave it to them. I really did. Don't, I'm not trying to be funny, but I thought that. I thought, oh, as a Christian, I'm supposed to help people. I'm supposed to do this. But nowhere in the Bible does it say to dig yourself a grave to help somebody who more than likely are not going to help themselves even after you help them. So, I just wanted to share this, my experience with it. If you guys have follow-up questions, feel free to leave a comment or send me a personal message and I'll do a follow-up video if needed. But I just wanted to share my experience with it and to say, to encourage anyone who may be going through the process or thinking about it, because there is life after it and life is looking good for me after it, okay? And I'm not encouraging you to do it or discouraging you from doing it, but each person needs to look at it individually. So, love you guys. Talk to you soon. Let me know if you have questions. Bye.